Hello, hello, and welcome to my very first ever YouTube video. I only sort of know what I'm doing, so I hope it turns out good. Anyway, so I'm really excited to talk about the new moon that's happening today at 28 degrees of Pisces, and this is part of what has inspired me to just go ahead and create this YouTube channel because I've been thinking about this for a while, and probably there are a lot of us that have been thinking about and cooking something up for a long time. And now we are finally ready to take some steps, take some actions, make it happen, and just do it. So that is actually what this new moon is all about. And that was part of why I decided, like, hey, I'm just going to do it. Okay. I'm here telling everybody else, go ahead and just do it. So I'm setting the precedent. I'm doing it. Okay. So we have the sun and the moon together here at 28 degrees of Pisces, which is almost the very last degree of the entire zodiac. So this is major culmination energy. This is the energy of what has been cooking, what has been brewing, what have we cooked up through the culmination of our experiences throughout the last year, even throughout our entire lifetime. And the reason why it's very lifetime significant is because right here next to the sun and the moon, we have Saturn and Neptune conjunct in the very early degrees of Aries. They were exactly conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries on February 20th, just a couple of weeks ago. So that energy is still super fresh, super potent. That is a once in 6,000 year transit. These two planets would come together at the 0 degrees of Aries, which is a world point signifying big new beginnings for the entire world, for humanity as a species. Okay. So this is not just our dream up for humanity, for the collective. Pisces is very much about the collective. It's about the dissolution of the individual identity. It's about the dissolution of anything physical or tangible, really. It's also about the things that are like hanging out in the ethers before they have become tangible, before they've become real and solid. So this new moon to me is very much about what are we trying to create? What are we visualizing as the next layer of our existence as individuals as well as a collective? And we've got some really beautiful aspects that this new moon is making. The first one I want to address is this sextile to Uranus over at 28 degrees of Taurus. Now, Uranus is the disruptor, the innovator, the shaker upper that comes after Saturn. And, Saturn is about structure and authority and crystallization, rules, regulations, boundaries. Uranus is about shaking all of that up and innovating and saying, where have we been too rigid? Where do we need to come up with something new? Where do we need to have a new solution so that we can actually serve everyone better than just sticking to the old rules? Okay. And so Uranus can bring downloads. It can bring really innovative insights, things that we weren't expecting, that we feel like they're out of left field. Okay, so that's Uranus, and that is some really beautiful energy. A sextile, as we know, is a harmonious energy where these energies are working together in harmony with each other. Taurus, an earth sign, Pisces, a water sign, earth and air signs tend to get along and be able to operate well together. They're both feminine signs. All right, so the other thing we have is a sextile to Pluto. Right? And in this chart, it's only showing that it's sextile to Saturn and Neptune, but it's also in a kind of a wide sextile to this new moon, which is so closely conjunct. And I'm going to say that it's part of the story as well, because it's definitely operating in a way that is supportive for the collective. When Pluto is in Aquarius, the power tends to shift to the people, which is awesome because that could not come at a better time. Pluto was in Capricorn, where the power rested with the highest authorities. Capricorn is ruled by Saturn. It's about structure and hierarchy. The next alignment that I want to discuss is the square to a point that's not actually showing here on this chart, but it's down here at 27 degrees of Sagittarius, and that's the galactic center. Now, a square from the galactic center to me is a reminder to us here on Earth that we're participating and we are part of a much, much, much bigger, longer story than what we think we are. We're not just humans existing in a bubble. We are a very special species, in my opinion, and we have more powers than we have been led to believe, than we have really actively and collectively harnessed. This square is a reminder that we are galactic citizens and we have a galactic story. And maybe we don't know what that is right now, but perhaps we will soon. And I feel like this square is pushing that. Okay, so the next alignment that I want to discuss is this Mercury conjunct the North Node. So Mercury has been retrograde in the sign of Pisces for several weeks now, and it's stationing direct right on top of the North Node of destiny and fate. The North Node is showing us what we collectively need to be embracing and doing more of. And in this case, it's in Pisces. So more unity consciousness, more elevated universal love, more faith, trust, using our intuition. Okay. And Mercury doesn't exactly love to be in Pisces because Mercury typically loves details and lists and boxes and processes and procedures and very concrete data. Whereas Pisces is the literal opposite of concrete. It is floating nebulousness. It's intangible. It's like the things that you can barely describe or see or touch at all. So Mercury here is drawing our attention to the value of thinking intangibly, of getting outside of the how and just cooking up whatever possibilities light up our hearts. That week-long conjunction, I think, is really significant, especially here as we have this ongoing throughout the new moon, as well as at the time that the sun actually moves into Aries, which is in just a couple of days. Another theme that the alignments are pointing to is revolving around Venus. So we've got Venus together with the asteroid Lilith, which is different than Black Moon Lilith, but they have similar meanings, all right? And then the asteroid is kind of more of like a tangible form of Black Moon Lilith, where it deals with feminine rage and the suppression of the feminine, as well as the feminine's refusal to be suppressed, to be controlled, to be dominated, and her insistence upon her own sovereignty. So Venus being here in Aries, which technically is the sign of her detriment, because typically Venus is about love and consideration and relationships. And in Aries, Venus is about herself. But I think for right now, especially considering what's been happening with women and to women for thousands of years, being suppressed, being pushed to the sides, being literally raped and killed and burnt at the stake and allowed to have few rights as possible. This is, to me, a symbol, a very clear symbol that the feminine is rising, that we are claiming our power and that we are claiming our sovereignty and we are healing our wounds. Here's Chiron, also in Aries, and we're just not having it anymore. And then we have Mars here in Pisces, and he's kind of bringing up the rear. So technically he's not totally bringing up the rear because Mercury is behind him of the personal planets, but Mercury is going to is going to like shoot right past Mars once it goes direct in a couple of days. I mean, of course, it's not going to immediately shoot forward. It's going to take a little time to start momentum, but Mercury is going to enter Aries before Mars, and then Mars will be the last one out of Pisces. And to me, this represents the masculine having a little bit longer to hang out in Pisces and to get with the program spiritually, psychically, on the more subtle levels. And I think that really right now, that's very helpful. The other thing is that this Venus and Lilith are receiving a square from Jupiter. The square from Jupiter is exact, and that is an amplification of that feminine rage that we are seeing all over the internet and all over our communities. And it is a justified, righteous anger because we have been so abused and suppressed for so long. And not only that, but we have had to watch our children and our planet being abused and raped and defiled and made like our planet is almost unlivable. It is literally almost unlivable. Climate scientists are saying that we have less than a century to turn this around. And this, to me, is the rage and the action-oriented energy that we as women and we as feminine creatures need to now embrace and embody in order to create parallel systems that are going to catch everybody when the current system collapses. So the other aspect that is part of that story of the rising of the divine feminine and her rage is that Mars over here is on the receiving end of a square from Black Moon Lilith. Okay. And Black Moon Lilith also, again, it deals with feminine sovereignty. And she is applying a pressure to that masculine and saying, and she's actually squaring the nodes as well, which is a really big deal because in personal astrology, when you have a square to the nodes, it's called a skipped step, meaning that this is something that you might want or try to just kind of get around, but you can't. And the square to the nodes makes sure that you must address this before you're able to move on and move forward. And I feel like that is a reality for us collectively right now, that feminine rage will not be sidelined anymore. All right, so we have a very dynamic new moon and multiple storylines at play. We've got the rise of a new dream individually and collectively, as well as the rise of the feminine and her claiming of her sovereign power. These are the main themes that I'm seeing, as well as, actually, the other thing about Mercury being conjunct the North Node. So Mercury is spending this whole week conjunct the North Node, and Mercury rules our minds and our attention, as well as stories and narratives. And part of my interpretation of this Mercury sitting on this North Node is that we have the opportunity to rewrite our story as an individual and our story as a collective. Not only to rewrite it, but to see where we have missed things, to see where we've been told something that wasn't true, a story that wasn't true about humanity, a story that wasn't true about the feminine and the masculine and the relationship between those. We have an opportunity to see things from an entirely new perspective and to rewrite the story of who we are and who humanity is in this moment so that we can move forward with greater clarity and greater power. Okay, so I think those are most of the things that I have to say about this new moon. I am going to do my best to clean this video up, and then this will be my very first YouTube video I'm posting to YouTube, and I'm super excited. Thank you so much for your patience with my whatever with my experiment here. All right. I love you. Mwah.